Hello once again, Star Wars unboxing fans. Welcome to another episode of Darth Tuba's Star Wars unboxing show. I'm your host, Darth Tuba. Today is just a walk and talk, folks. A walk and talk episode. Kind of just strolling around. Oh no. Poor Hammerhead. What did he do? Did Han shoot first on Hammerhead too? Yeah, I need to do, all of my vintage stuff is in this case. And or most of it. And it's kind of congested in there. So hence is one of the reasons why I've been having Star Wars sales, is because I'm looking more to do something like this, to something that's a little more spaced out. Just so everything can kind of have its just amount of space and a little, maybe do some lighting, things of that nature. So, but I wanted to walk and talk today because there have been a lot of rumors. There's been a lot of talk about Hasbro pulling away from the... Oh, you know what? While I'm talking, I have to turn this light on. That works better. There's been a lot of rumors about Hasbro pulling away from toys, pulling away from the toy industry and instead wanting to focus their energies on maybe just the things that are a little bit more. I think their biggest business draws for them are like paper things or gaming, for whether it's role-playing games like Dungeons and Dragons or computer, like so many others are doing, and the physical play with action figures and toys is definitely something that maybe they're just getting away from. So they're talking about licensing out their product to have other companies either selling off the license completely or subcontracting it out so that other companies make toys. And that's scaring a lot of people, which I find, I think when you're around as long as I am, there may be people that are my age, and if you disagree with this, feel free to put your opinion and your thoughts in the comments. But, I've been around the block a few times. I know what it means when a program or something stops, something ends. I remember the dark times. I remember when there was no Star Wars. Star Wars ended. But the thing was that as children, we didn't think about it as much. When those of us that were around in the 70s and 80s, we didn't think about Star Wars ending. The movies came out and then they ended. There was a cartoon, Droids and Ewoks. Then that ended. And then that was it. But our minds were taken over by new things. Transformers, G.I. Joe, He-Man, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. Something I did not play with very much. Okay? These were all things that we as collectors took over. Or we grew out of it. If at my age, I was by the time we got into the mid 80s, late 80s, I was switching over to music and that was like when I was aiming at to do for a career. So, and music education. So that was my journey. It took a detour from Star Wars, which, what does the Bible say? I put away childish things. Not that I'm a Bible reader, I'm not, but I'm just thinking, for purposes of parable and, analogy. You grow up and you start pulling things out and getting interested in new things, So I focused on my career and things of that nature. But there was a moment, once we got to the very late 80s, early 90s, that collectors like myself started feeling very nostalgic. They were feeling nostalgic about Star Wars. They were feeling like they were missing it, and they wished that we could go back into a store like, well, for me, it was a store called Jamesway, which was I guess it was a regional department store, or a store like, Toys R Us, or for some of you, I'm sure it was Walmart or things like that. And they had, the question would come up of, wouldn't it be great? I'm just going to adjust this a little bit. So wouldn't it be great if we could just go back into the store and find Star Wars figures again? But alas, it didn't happen in 1990. It didn't happen in 1991 or 1992. The most we could hope for was Bendems, which we've talked about on this channel. And then 93, 94, we did have a little bit of resurgence with the Heir to the Empire, the Star Wars novels, some comic books by Dark Horse. But those, went along for a while, and we really didn't see evidence that that was going to manifest itself into toys until 1994, 95, when we got an announcement that Hasbro, which had just recently acquired Kenner, is going to start producing Star Wars figures again. And at first we didn't know if did this mean they're going to re-release the old figures, they're going to make new figures. Then they said they're going to make new sculpts. And we're like, oh, that's cool, yeah, And then came the He-Man, Luke Skywalker, and Han Solo all buffed up, which at the time, most collectors, I think, were just happy to have Star Wars back in the store. Go into a store and there's Star Wars, But it was interesting because there was no movie, there was no media whatsoever. Okay. Well, there was also very little internet. I mean, you could, only dribs and drabs at that point. So, as we were going through this, it was definitely something that felt really exciting. And then they started getting them back into more realistic sculpts of the characters, and then they started getting characters that you didn't get. I mean, at first it was like Han and Luke and Chewie and Vader and all the figures that you got. And I think among the newest ones were like Grand Moff Tarkin. We were like, oh, they finally made Tarkin. And then they started going with all the other Cantina aliens, and it was really something special. In fact, in a way, it has a new nostalgia for me. I had the nostalgia of being a kid, and now going to see the movies and then collecting the toys, and then a nostalgia for being an adult going into stores and rekindling my interest. It was really exciting. Fast forward to the next 25 years, and you're dealing, 30 years really, and you're dealing with thousands of figures, thousands upon thousands. I remember when they released the 500th figure with Boba Fett, and everyone was like, is it really 500? And the people at Hasbro were like, actually, no, there's been more than that. So we're like, oh my God. So, and at the time, I was collecting them all. I was faithful to them. I tried doing the carded figures, but then I ran out of wall space to hold them. And I didn't want to put the carded figures in a drawer. I didn't want that. So I started opening them, trying to keep a few of them carded. And then came the inevitable, re-releases and repacks and repaints, and the inevitable getting redone, but you're paying more money, but for less and less and less because inflation. And those were things that were challenging. They were upsetting. They were concerning. Because, we only have so much discretionary income, So, and then they were introduced, for me, a catalyst was when they introduced Black Series. Black Series, I went, oh my God, do I jump into this? I did jump into it. And at first, it was fun. I mean, they could, with the bigger figures, they could do better sculpts, they could do more accuracy, they could, include more weapons. I mean, they had all this cool stuff that they were doing. And I did like to open them up. I didn't really care too much for the boxes. So, there's a lot of my more recent Black Series. Over here is some of the earlier Black Series. Again, you'll see here's some carded stuff. These are mostly like exclusive things. And then here, you might notice some spaces. Okay, I've started selling them off. I've started putting them back in there. Some of them, I kept some boxes and put that had multiple hands or multiple heads, and I started putting the figures back in the boxes, those figures, and putting them out there. I'm not going to sell them as mint, of course. I'll sell them as used and displayed figures. But anywho, that's where, and now we've been kind of going through, and they've been all the while they've been introducing new things like Star Wars Transformer crossovers, and then they have, of course, Hot Wheels. Like that, right? The Hot Wheels cars, which again were great. Then they have the Black Series figures that are on the old cars. Again, great. But then you also have other companies like Sideshow and Hot Toys. The Think Away toys from that came out with Force Awakens. And then Disney having all of their Muppet crossovers and Disney crossovers. Droid Factory. Indiana Jones, which I know is not Star Wars, but to me it's like a close cousin. Gentle Giant. We were taking the original figures and actually doing jumbo versions of them. Galaxy's Edge created tons of collectibles. Then we're not even talking about the Halcyon, okay? It got to the point, and it gets to the point for me and for probably a lot of other collectors who think, how much is enough? Or better yet, how much is too much? Harry's doing weird stuff tonight. So, with all of that, we have, collectors have to make choices. And so, in being in that, I've started saying, you know what, still love collecting Star Wars. I will never not love collecting Star Wars. I will collect Star Wars the rest of my life. Probably will run this channel for as long as I live, if YouTube is still a format in which I can do it. But in the end, when you get right down to it, it is a business. Just like going to Disney parks is a business for Disney parks, and collecting making toys is a business for Hasbro. And if it's not lucrative anymore and they need to move on to something else, I'm okay with it. I am. I don't have as much of a nostalgic connection to Hasbro as some people do. I recognize that Hasbro owns Kenner, and I appreciate that they put the Kenner logo on all of the vintage collection racing stripe packaging. That is nostalgic to me. But, as nostalgic as it is, even nostalgia has to give way for, just room and space. I mean, lots of space taken up with vintage collection. That's the early part of it. Down the wall, over here. Here's more. Over here. Up top. And look above. Look above me. Look at all the vintage collection. See what I mean? It's not the ideal setting, honestly. It really isn't. But this is where I put it. This is where I used to keep all my non-vintage collection stuff, and slowly I've been getting rid of it. I've been moving them, or at least unboxing some stuff. There's only so much room. I applaud the people that have these high-end collections. These high-end, meaning high-end displayed collections. I do the best I can with the budget I have, which is zero, and the time that I have, which is only in the summer. And I spend a lot of that down in Florida because I have enjoyed my new fun thing, which is living Star Wars. Whether it's doing, the amazing Halcyon adventures, right, like we did 2 summers ago, or just being in Galaxy's Edge, which hopefully, by the way, we will be doing that again very soon. So, I guess, what am I getting at? Well, I think what I'm getting at, there's a lot of, at the time of this recording, who knows what's going to happen by the time this gets released. Maybe by the time this video gets released, I'm about almost a month behind, believe it or not. Maybe by the time this video gets released, there will be an announcement from Hasbro saying we're done. If that happens, it's going to be okay. Okay? And here's why I know this. There are literally 1,000 plus licensees that handle Star Wars. And there are other toy companies that I think would jump at the chance. Many of which would jump at the chance to create a 3 3/4 inch figure for, in the retro style, which is what a lot of collectors my age want. They could do it in a smaller manner. Now, will it be cheap? Probably not, because they're not going to be selling them to mass market. Because we're really evolving away from that. But there are those companies like Super 7 that are good at making smaller runs of figures that are very niche. Or, Funko does the same thing. They run a very simple, simplistic model that they can just kind of take the Funko figure and make it look like anything. But when you think about basic Star Wars figures, I mean, aside from a few, they all kind of were the same kind of thing. You had a torso, you had 2 arms, you had 2 legs, and you had a head. So they can do the things that they need to do. And Super 7, if you looked on a previous video, those worst figures, the last couple that came out, which again, I'm not a Super 7 collector, not at all. But I collected the 3 that were absolutely based on Star Wars ideas. They were inspired by the Cantina aliens or what have you. So I guess I think it's going to be okay. I'm all right with it. I also know, I have a place like Disney and Shop Disney that are never going to stop until unless they decide to sell the brand, which I seriously doubt. They are still trying to make their money back from buying it. I guess that's another thing that I'm thinking about too. Speaking of that, what's it been, like 12 years, right? Since or I should say 13 years since, almost to the day, since the acquisition happened, right? Or announced that it was going to happen. So that's kind of a fun thing to think about. And then, there are people who are like, oh, Disney ruined Star Wars. Well, you know what? I'm sorry, but people just like to complain. I mean, my goodness, it happens everywhere. Do you think it did? Do you think Disney ruined Star Wars? Do you think Disney ruined Star Wars any more than some fans thought George Lucas ruined Star Wars with the prequels, or with the Clone Wars? The problem is that Star Wars, the problem I feel like, it's not really a problem, it's just a reality. Star Wars is bigger now than any of us. It's bigger than any one of us. It's bigger than any fan. I was watching some channel on YouTube was running the Jedi Adventures. 24 hours. They were just running it live. Like, you just turn it on and there's an episode of Jedi. Is it Young Jedi Academy, I think it is. It's the one that takes place in the New Republic, or the High Republic. And it's cute. It's not for me, as I mentioned before in other videos. It's not for us. It's not for 50-plus-year-olds. It's a kids show. It's for preschool, or maybe young elementary school level kids. But there's still lightsabers, and there's speeders, and there's fighting, and they actually there were 2 episodes that were shot. They were animated on Batuu, on Galaxy's Edge. So there's certainly some synergy there. But the thought to say that Disney ruined Star Wars is, you can't say that any more than you can say Disney ruined Mary Poppins, or Disney ruined Winnie the Pooh, or Disney ruined Snow White. Did the Disney company take those properties and turn out their own versions of whatever? Yes. And yeah, some people more loyal to the books back in the day might have objected to that. It's their right to do that. It's your right to object to Star Wars being produced by Disney now. I stand by what I've always said, and that is that before Disney purchased Star Wars, we had Star Wars Angry Bird crossover. That was what we had. Everything was merchandise related. Everything was IP related. Crossovers like the Star Wars Transformers, which are cool, but after a while, I had a bunch of them on my shelf, and I'm like, you know what? I'm not connecting to these, but I do connect to the vintage collection. I do connect to the vintage figures that have been announced as of late, even Acolyte. I've loved the retro figures. I think that those are great. So, I'm okay with it. And if they take a break for a couple of years and then kind of rethink how they want to move forward, I think that's a good idea. I think that allows us collectors to take stock of what really resonates with us, and then move on from there. Here's another one. Look at this. There's these guys right here. I think those were, I want to say, these guys right here. I want to say they were diamond exclusives or something like that. And they were essentially, 18-inch figures. I mean, they're awesome. They look great. They even have a little electronics. And I remember when I bought them, they're the same height as premium format figures from Sideshow. They were like $60. Premium format, 60 or 70. Premium format figures at that time were $300, $400. Now they're probably twice that. I said, do I spend $300, $400 on those things? Or do I spend probably that amount for all of them? Well, I did that. And I had them displayed up top on top of my IKEA shelving, and it was great. But now I'm looking at them and I'm like, they're nice, but I think I might be ready to move on. So, or maybe just keep one. The Luke Jedi one looks really good. But maybe the rest, I don't know. We'll see. And it's okay. I'm all right with it. I love it. Because I'm still getting stuff. I'm still buying stuff. I still see new things that come in. I ordered the Advent calendar. Both the Droid one, which I showed on a video, and the Lego one, which I'll probably just show a little bit of it. I don't know if I'll open up a couple. I don't know if I'm going to open them up all on camera. There's plenty of channels that do that. So just it's fun. It's a fun thing. But I'd be okay with a break. I'd be okay with it, meaning a break from Hasbro, from action figures. If they just kind of let it go a little bit, and let's see who else comes up with stuff. And if they come up with, they're going to continue doing Black Series and not doing the 3 3/4 inch, okay, that's fine. Then maybe what I'll do at that point, because I have still collected some. I was going to get Hu Yang from Ahsoka, and then they released the 3 3/4 inch, so I canceled my order for Hu Yang. I don't need to own every single character, but there's some that resonate with me. I loved Hu Yang. In Acolyte, I loved Basil, the little tracker. And they didn't release the 3 3/4 inch, so I did order the Black Series figure. If a 3 3/4 inch is announced between now and then, I'll cancel the Black Series. I kind of like the Black Series Rebels crew, But here's another thing, I'm actually even in the 3 3/4 inch line, I'm kind of having my thoughts. Like, if anybody here is interested, I don't think I'm going to keep the Ghost. The Ghost I ordered, I backed it on the HasLab. It's going to come soon. I am thinking of selling it. Now, I like to make a little bit of a profit on it. It doesn't have to be crazy, but I might put it out there on eBay, or we'll see. But if anyone is interested, you can let me know. Obviously, you'll have to pay a little more than what their going rate was, but we can work something out. Why is that? Well, the Ghost, I'm not as connected to. I liked the Ghost. I liked the use of it in both Rebels and in Ahsoka, but it's just not as much a part of who I am, of what I liked about Star Wars. I didn't hate it. It just didn't linger like that. But I supported it with the idea that maybe I would sell it, or maybe I would open it up. We're not sure. The Cantina, I am definitely going to open up. I did rack that. I have a space over there waiting for it. It's good. So, you just pick and choose. But I guess, I know, I'm rambling a little bit. So the point I'm just saying is that it's going to be okay. So to the collectors out there who are freaking out, if Hasbro, when and if they announce they're done with Star Wars, or they're pushing off the license, it's fine. It's going to be okay. We survived no Star Wars for a bunch of years. And I don't think we'll ever do that. Thanks to the internet, there will always be Star Wars. There will always be fan-made things. There will always be things on Etsy. Everything from different things that you can wear, 3D printing of any kind of helmet, weapon, droid. It is crazy what you can do now. That's why I'm excited for my upcoming retirement, upcoming meaning in a couple of years, because that's going to be my new hobby, I think. In fact, I'm going to have to do some rearranging in the Star Wars room so I can get a 3D printing area set up. So we're going to have to do that. That's going to be interesting. So anyway, so I'm excited for that. I'm looking forward to it. I can't wait for that, And it may not happen. I don't know. I may just decide to just continue to study it and look at it and whatever. But 3D printing is opening up a world. I mean, color 3D printing. It's amazing what you can come up with. People are making droids. Making small droids. Like the ones from the Droid Depot in Galaxy's Edge. They are building the parts to make their own droids. All different sizes, from action figure to life size and everything in between. They are building custom figures. I mean, think about every time, we talked about this on the channel, every time there was a new episode of Boba Fett, Ahsoka, Mandalorian, Acolyte, somebody had created a 3D file of figures from that story that you could download, sometimes for free, and you could print out yourself. And they did it in realistic style, and they did it in retro style. So you could. The nice thing about customizing retro figures is that the painting is simple, so it's easier to paint. So you can do that. Oh my God, it's like we're on a whole new world. We're in a world where, and some people don't like this, but I think it's good. We're in a world where you are doing stuff and being, Star Wars is very original and unique to you. And that is awesome. People are sharing what their rooms look like, their Star Wars rooms. I think that's amazing. And again, I've never been one to collect for the purposes of showing off. I collect because I love it. I love collecting. Okay? But you know what else I love? I love having experiences. And experiences are expensive too. Going to Disney is expensive. So if I can use some of this to help pay for that, I'm okay losing it. I'm okay letting another collector have it. Plus, as I've mentioned on my channel, I love the conversations. I've made friends because of selling my collection. I have made, some of which, by the way, I know, people that watch, I know I got to get to some people's houses to do some videos there. I'm going to do it. At the time of this recording, our band season, marching band just ended. I will be able to find a little bit more time. Of course, we're getting into the holiday season, but it's happening. Anyway, so a lot of good things have come out of it. And I just absolutely, I'm not the kind of person who wants to spend time lamenting what we don't have in Star Wars, what sucks about Star Wars, what things in people's opinions. People keep talking, you need a good story, you need a good story. Yes, I won't disagree. I mean, story is everything. But, I mean, these were based on Flash Gordon and Buck Rogers shows, which nobody really talked about them having good stories. They were just fun popcorn movies and eye candy and ear candy and really cool effects and things of that nature. And I think that we shouldn't lose sight of that. I loved Andor. Andor was a great piece and a great example of Star Wars at its best when it comes to storytelling. But, as I've said, it can be slow. It can be a little bit of a slow burn. So I definitely understand, that some people might prefer, Boba Fett riding a Rancor through Tatooine over that. To each their own. So, but when it comes to Hasbro, I think we're at the point now where we have got enough. Heck, even if you just want to collect Hasbro, most people could probably spend the rest of their lives trying to collect old Hasbro. Remember, it's been 30 non-stop years of Star Wars figures. 30 years. Not like 5 or 6 like it was with the original Kenner line. 30 years. Vehicles. I mean, look at all these. And I don't even have, I've lost some. Look how many A-Wing fighters. And the ships from Rebels. The ships, there's our TIE Interceptor. Look at all the different AT-ATs. Whoops, behind me there. Look at all the different AT-ATs. I have a little shrine here for just R2s and 3POs. I mean, look at this. It's never ending. Look at all this. Okay? This is like crazy. Unbelievably crazy. Okay? It's ridiculous to think that if they stopped making this, that we weren't, that the world is going to end. It will not. Everything will be good. Okay? So, anyway, I guess that's all I'm saying. It's going to be okay. Look forward to seeing you guys in new episodes. We've got the holidays coming. We got to get the studio decorated. We got something like 25, something like that, 25 new ornaments, or ornaments or play sets or things like that are for Christmas related to get set up. And I don't go out nuts for all Star Wars stuff. I don't do that for everything anymore. Just pretty much Hallmark. And I did find, as you saw, I put a short out with some cutouts that I'm going to put out. I'm kind of getting away from the inflatables. I don't like inflatables. They don't last. And they look kind of, unless you run them constantly, they just look like dirty laundry on your lawn. So I'm not a fan of that. But I mean, we have the life-size Yoda. We have the life-size Vader and Stormtrooper. I think I didn't get the Vader and Stormtrooper, but we'll see when when the holidays come and go, if they go on sale, I might consider it. So lots of really cool things to look forward to, folks. We are nowhere near done. Oh, I lost some of my soldiers have fallen. I have to fix them. Uh-oh. I feel like one guy lost his hat. Where's your hat? Oh. Yeah, you know, the only thing I will say, one thing I'm not going to miss about... dude, where's your hat? Oh. Unless maybe I didn't pack it. Or, anyway. So, you know, there's really cool stuff like that. There's really cool things of all different levels. I am very excited about it. I haven't done any. I did have one heritage auction that I'm still in the running for one small thing. I'm going to take a break from that. Heritage auctions are great. Great place for people to find lots of items, meaning an actual lot of a bunch of items. But I will tell you that there's a lot of premium on them. So you got to be careful with that, because you can end up spending a lot more money than you realize that you spent. You know, you're adding it up, and then you see the price and you see the premium, but you don't put them together. So, not that I don't regret it. I mean, I think I made a good purchase, but it's just one of those things. So, lots of cool stuff down the horizon. Okay, I have no intention to stop the channel just because Hasbro might stop. There's still plenty of collecting to be done. If not current stuff, there's customized stuff. There's old stuff. There's vintage stuff that I have not gotten that I'm looking for, even if I work on building it up slowly. So I have a lot of goals in mind. But, you know, there's just... I think it's... You know, people sometimes say, there's never a better time to be a Star Wars fan. I'm really looking forward to Skeleton Crew. I'm really looking forward to The Mandalorian and Grogu, even though that's a year off. With multiple trips to Galaxy's Edge coming. Life Day is coming up at the time of this recording. So, to me, it's always a good time to be a Star Wars fan. But that'll do it for this episode. I know I rambled for a while. Maybe you had it on in the background while you're exercising or something. That's good. So, like I said, it's going to be okay. Just like everything else in the world. With deep breaths, it's going to be okay. Yeah, that's another thing. We have an election, and I have no idea how that ended at the time. By the time this recording went, I have my own hopes. Not going to say what, but anybody who knows me pretty much knows the answer. So thank you so much for watching. Like, subscribe, hit the notification. Check out all the other content on Red 5 Network, both my content and others. Thank you, Red 5, for supporting the channel. Until next time, folks, may the Force and the toys, regardless of whether Hasbro makes them or not, be with you.